Pro-Q3 is an essential part of every producer's toolbox. It's an amazing EQ that allows you to sculpt and shape your sounds, your mix, getting the results that you're looking for. So if you're new to Pro-Q3 and you're still a bit unsure on how to use it properly, I'm going to show you how to get the most out of it. So we need to load up Pro-Q3. And as you can see from the interface, from the GUI, it looks pretty straightforward. But there's a lot that goes on in this plugin that allows you to just, like I said already, to sculpt and shape your sound. An amazing tool. We've got these different sizes. The very largest, which is my favorite. You can go all the way to mini, which is cool if you've got a load of plugins in your session. And you can also go full screen, which is super cool. So nice, especially if you're trying to get a bit strategical. Or you just like to have the full screen. I do that a lot when I'm mixing, especially when I'm mixing vocals. You just press the top corner and it will go back to the original size. So the top right here, you've got the help section. So if you click on that, it gives you a bit of information. You've got some presets here as well in the default area. It's a default setting. So if you've created any EQ curves or something that you want to save, you can just save it up there, save as, and give it a name, hit save, and save it, which is something I like to do a lot. Find it very useful to do that. So the human range of hearing is 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, but this goes all the way down to 10 and then goes all the way up to 30,000 hertz. And if you can hear that, then you got some incredible ears. Anyway, as you can see, your dB range, so you got from 0 and it goes up in threes all the way up to 30 dB. You can change that. So you can change the dB scale, which is good, because what can happen is if you put it up to 30 and you start making cuts and then you get a bit too high, you can get a bit carried away and a bit lost in what you're doing. So if you're trying to be a bit more accurate and you just only want like a couple dBs, 3 to 6 dB is a good place to start, because then you can do smaller cuts or boosts. Because you might just need like a little touch of EQ. If you've got the EQ set at 30 and you made that little boost, you're not going to see it. So you think, oh, I'll boost it so I can see it. Because if you're doing it visually, then you might boost unnecessarily. And then MIDI learn. I have to be 100 honest with you. I've never used MIDI learn, and that's probably something I should look into. But don't worry about that for now. So then we have the different processing modes. You've got zero latency, natural phase, linear phase. And when you go to linear phase, you can change that yet again. I won't go into that now because that's a whole video within itself. Then we've got analyzer, which allows you to see if you've got a plugin on, say, for example, your vocals, and then you've got Pro-Q3 on your beat. You can see what's going on in this little section here. So the beat will be playing. I'll show you. So as you can see here, the beat is showing some frequency, some movement in the frequency range. So you could choose the beat and then it will show the beat's frequencies. And if there was some masking or something, you can use the EQ, make some cuts where necessary, which is cool if you're doing stuff like sidechaining or you're having some kind of masking issue within your mix. Going back to the frequency range, you can add as many nodes as you want, or not as many as you want. There is a limit, but I'm not sure what the limit is. I'm not about to test it out now. You can do that in your own time. As you noticed, I made the first cut and that made it a low cut, which means I can cut all the frequencies. So it's called a high pass because it's just allowing the highs to pass, which I'll show you on this beat. So that's your high pass, which is low cut. And then you've got your low pass, which is a high cut. Can be a bit confusing, but yeah, call it whatever you want to call it, whatever you're most comfortable with. And you can take that down as far as you want. So in between low pass and high pass, you can create different nodes. And once you've created a node, you can turn it on and off. You can listen to the specific section. You can change the node that you've just created. So you can make it to high shelf, low cut, high shelf, high cut. That's like a dip type of node frequency. Crazy, crazy stuff. And then you've got another notch type of filter, and you've got like a balance, which is, if you're trying to get creative, is a good little tool. It's so technical. So you can highlight and get rid of all of them, press X, create one. You can change your stereo placement from left to right. You drop down arrow, go to stereo placement, change that to right, change that to left. You can disable, invert the gain, make it dynamic, which we'll talk about shortly. The shape of the node, like I mentioned earlier, you can change that from here as well in shape, the slope of it. So I'll show you what the slope means. So we make a little notch, and then we go to slope. We choose 24, and it just creates a different curve shape for the node that you've just created. And that's cool if you've got like a section where few notches in the same sort of area. Instead of just putting two there, you can just add one, bring it down, and you can create a slope that has a bit more of a dip. Excellent, amazing. And then you can split it, which is giving you your left and right signal. Highlight both, press X, get rid of that. Such a cool plugin this is. Amazing. So if you want to invert the gain, so you've made a little notch, you've boosted it, and you want to dip it, it's just going to invert exactly where you've created your range. You've got your mid and side, so you can just attenuate the middle. Or you can go side. Amazing. So you might have a bit of a problem in the sides. You want to take some of the muddiness out of it, and then you can put a mid to just boost the middle, the sides that you took out, so it just creates more space. It's just very technical. So you got your lows, you got your mids, you got your low mids, your high mids, and then your high frequencies. And yeah, you can boost and attenuate to your heart's content. So once you create your nodes, look down the bottom here, you've got your on-off switch, which is, you can basically, all the controls of the node that you create is down here as well. So you can either hover up here and do what you need to do, or you can go down there and do what you need to do. So you can change the frequency, you can change the gain, you can change the Q. The Q is the narrow, the depth, the width, and the narrowness. Narrowness, if that's even a word. You can just make it narrow or wide, and the wider it is, it's gonna affect more of the frequency spectrum. The narrower, it's gonna affect less. But if you boost, for example, let me show you. So if I boost and create a narrow Q, it sounds a little bit weird. But if you create it wider, it sounds a bit more natural. Say, for example, you scoop all of that frequency out of your mix, beat, whatever it is, vocals, it's going to affect a lot across that range. Whereas if it was a bit more narrow, a narrow cut, which is what you want to do when you're doing subtractive EQ, you want a narrow Q. And if you're doing boost more, most of the time you want a bit more of a wider Q. There's also this function here, which I've just started to use, and I like it. It's called gain Q interaction. So when that's turned off, I can change the Q just by using my magic mouse. I can just scroll up and down, and it will change the Q. But if I turn that back on and I boost and I change the Q, it boosts the volume as well. And if I widen it, it lessens it. So it's kind of like very intuitive, and I like that a lot. First time I tried it, I didn't have a clue what was going on. I thought Pro-Q3 had broke, but I realized I had this switched on. And if you attenuate and you change the Q, it's gonna dip further. And then if you make it wider, it's gonna go up. It's gonna lessen the volume, which is Lovely, lovely little tool, little trick from Pro-Q3. So if you made a couple nodes and you can't remember, you've got so many you just can't remember what you've done, you can also just toggle back and forth in this section here, which is cool. Let's talk about the one of the coolest features. We're going to talk about one of the coolest features on Pro-Q3, and that's dynamic EQ. You might have heard of it, you might not have. But with dynamic EQ, what's so cool about it is instead of creating a notch and just leaving that notch there, with dynamic EQ, it's only gonna pull or boost the frequency when that frequency is apparent. So if you don't want to just scoop out your sound, say for example I boost there, but it's annoying, so I want to cut it, but I don't want to cut it all together, I could just use my dynamic EQ and it's going to attenuate. And it's the same for the other way as well. You can boost. It all depends on what you're using it for and why you would need to use that. So I'm going to show you how you can sidechain using Pro-Q3. So we've got the vocals and we've got the beat. I'm just going to try and create a little space for the vocals to sit on that beat. And I'm just going to create a loop.
Local celebrity, moving so low key but sexily. Everything she do successfully stays in my mind like a memory. She never hesitate, melodic, levitate, elevate. I need that app. And
you would just take Pro-Q3. If you're on Logic Pro, you're going to need to set your sidechain to your vocals, and then we're trying to create around the high mids, about 3K. Create some space so that when the vocals hit, the beat will duck a bit, and we do that by just creating a little notch, creating a node. Go to your dynamic range. Once you create the dynamic range, just in case you didn't know what I've done there, just in case you didn't see it, I just use my mouse to create the dynamic range. And what I normally do is just create the node, and I'll go to the dynamic range and just use that to slide it down. Yeah, which is probably the easiest way to do it. And we just bring it down a bit. We just want to be about 6 dB because we don't want it to go too crazy. And we need to turn on sidechain. And this little notch here is sidechain.
Local celebrity, moving so low key but sexily. Everything she do successfully stays in my mind like a memory.
So that's off. So that's just compressing the actual beat. But because we've sidechained, that's our key. The volume, the vocals is our key. We've set the range of our dynamic range to about 2-3 dB. We don't want to make it too obvious. And we just turn it on with that little key there, and we're good to go.
Local celebrity, moving so low key but sexily. Everything she do successfully stays in my mind like a memory. She never hesitate, melodic, levitate, elevate. I need that ass in my resume. Pausing, she press.
Yeah. So if you're not sure if it's triggering the right thing, then you can just check by just turning it off.
Moving so low key but sexily. Memory, she never hesitate, melodic, levitate, elevate.
As you can see, it's working nicely there.
Local celebrity, moving so low key but sexily. Everything she do successfully stays in my mind like a memory. She never hesitate, melodic, levitate, elevate. I need that ass in my resume. Pausing, she presses play, heavenly.
That's the basics of Pro-Q3. You can get very technical because there's a lot to learn and understand in this one plugin. But as you can see for yourself, the amount of possibilities that it gives you is the reason why so many producers use this plugin. So the best thing to do is just to get in there, use it, put it across your mixes, across vocals, across beats, and just get used to it. The more you practice with it, the easier it gets. I hope I haven't made this too complicated for you. If I have, just drop a comment below if there's something that you're unsure about and you want me to, I don't know, clarify. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you vibe with this video at all, I'm sure you're going to vibe with the next one. I'll see you over there.